So good morning. Welcome to Scrapbook Live. I am Megan Jax. We're going to be putting together a layout from the Creative Memories blog. I went clear back to 2020, which wasn't that long ago, but yet it was, right? So this is, we're pushing 2.5 years, almost 3 years on this particular project, but I think it's a fun one, and it's going to cover a technique that I haven't shown on Scrapbook Live. I'm sure many of you have done it, where we're cutting the paper on the diagonal, that full 12 by 12 on the diagonal. And I know sometimes I see questions come up in Facebook of how do people do it. So I'm going to show you the way that I like to do it that doesn't involve a fold. So you will need a couple additional tools. I will show you how you can do it with a fold. I'll talk you through it. And then I'm actually going to show you the way I do it that is not, that allows us to do it without folding the paper, because sometimes we don't want to fold our paper to make those long diagonal cuts. But you can get the handout on my blog. If you're watching on Facebook Live, it's the first comment. If you're watching on YouTube later, you'll see the link below in the description. And as always, these are from the Creative Memories blog. There's a link to the original blog post on my blog post, and the QR code that's on the handout will take you to that original blog post. So if you want to see all the pictures that Creative Memories sometimes includes, or, just have a quick link there to it, you've got it all set. There's also a hashtag at the bottom of the page. And if you post within the Scrapbooking with Meggan group, if you want to use that hashtag, it helps us keep everything organized. And so if somebody wants to come back later and take a peek at one of the previous projects we've done, that's one way to find it. So I'm going to go ahead and switch you over here to my overhead camera, and we will get started. All right, so I've got my handout here, and I will admit to you guys, one of the reasons I picked this one is because I like the diagonal. I thought that was fun. It is a fast to fab paper. So for this particular, the directions are super short because the background was already pretty much made. And really, if you were following this along exactly, the key component you're putting together is going to be the border at the top. But we're going to go ahead and I'm going to show you how to do the diagonal cut without a fold. And then we'll be putting together the border detail at the top. Now, normally I really kind of, go with a completely different theme, different punches than they do in the sample here. However, this time I am going to be using the palm tree punch because I have got photos from when we went to California. We went into that roadside Cabazon dinosaur exhibit. Anyone who's ever seen the Pee-wee's Big Adventure, that's where Pee-wee stopped and Large Marge told them to say hi or something like that. But they have all these wonderful dinosaurs models there that you can see. It's, right up Cody's alley, right? He's 8. He likes that kind of stuff. And so he really enjoyed it. I've got a lot more pictures than this, but this is going to be the page that kind of kicks off the whole thing. I might expand it into a second page, basically just by mirroring it. However, I don't think I have another pack of the What a Zoo 2 to be able to actually do that on camera for you. So I'm going to make the first page and decide as I'm laying out the rest of my photos from this whether I need to do a second page to go with this. So to get started, like I said, I am using the What a Zoo. The one thing I wanted to point out here is they do not use any mats on the photos. And one of the ways that works for this particular photo, or this layout, is because both of these triangles that make up the background are largely solid. You have a tonal red. It has a little bit of polka dots in there, very light tonal polka dots in there that you really can't see. And the other side is mostly white with small red diamonds. So you don't need to have a separator between your photo and your background because the background itself is largely just solid. So if you're using a very busy background, you might want to plan for some mats to help separate your photos from your background. I will be sticking with more of a tonal background. I'm using the brown paper here. And I'm going to be cutting it and flipping half of it over. And you can see here, it's just kind of beige with black dots. So that's how I'm going to be handling this. I will be using some paper. There's a very faint pink stripe that goes down the diagonal. I will be using, I could come in with some tonal, maybe black paper if I wanted to keep it very tonal, which I actually might do. I was thinking that I was going to use this tonal green, but now that I think about it, I might keep it as just the black, because then I don't have to worry about a high contrast color coming down the middle and drawing your eye through those. So what that strip of paper is going to do is just cover up our seam. So we, just in case we have any little imperfections, when we paper weld back together, we don't have to worry about it. We're going to have a solid piece of, well, I'll show you how we'll piece it in there, the strip of paper. And I think I am going to use black. I've got some black cardstock here that I can easily cut down to make a strip. I've got a scrap of black that'll do that. So, and then to do the border at the top, I'm going to use the two tonal colors here. I'm sticking with a green, and then I do like that pop of yellow in there. So I think I'm going to come in with the pop of yellow behind it. That's my plan. If I don't like it, I can make an adjustment with some other paper. There is a little bit of additional detail in here. Let me pull up the paper. You can kind of see they have a little bit of a wave in there with, it's the aqua stripe, and then there's another border detail there in the strip. I went ahead and pulled this pattern paper. I liked this pattern paper. I thought it was a little too much for putting my photos on, but I'm going to use it for that hint of just additional detail at the top, where it can be just a small little bit of it. And then maybe if I wanted to come in with some more down here in the lower corner, I'll be able to do so. So to get started though, we need to create the background page. So for that, set my photos aside. Try not to lose my photos. I've already got them pre-cropped to this, mostly to the measurements that are in here. I did, instead of cropping down to 3.5 by 3.5, I've cropped them to 4 by 4 for now. I can always make them smaller once I start putting them on the page. We're going to talk about how to make those diagonal cuts. Obviously, a 12 by 12 paper, when you turn it on the diagonal, does not fit inside our trimmer. You need an 18-inch long trimmer to be able to cut a 12 by 12 paper on the diagonal. We typically don't have an 18-inch trimmer to be able to do that. So one of the ways you can cut your paper on the diagonal is to fold your paper in half. Just very carefully kind of pinch it in the middle, put it into your trimmer, and then cut this way, and you will then have two triangles. The other way to do this, if you don't like folding your paper, or you have thicker paper that you can't fold, designer paper folds well enough. Cardstock definitely is going to show your creases, is more difficult to fold. Any other kind of some specialty papers, any of our thicker shimmer papers may not fold as well. So my recommendation for that, if you're going to have some extra tools, I have an 18-inch ruler, and I use my 18-inch ruler on the diagonal. And you could come in here, you could, with your pencil, just trace that long line. You might be able to do something similar with a 12-inch ruler, but that 18-inch ruler, you can see, goes edge to edge. So it's easy for me just to line it up on my trimming mat, line up my 18-inch ruler corner to corner, and I could draw a line, a pencil line, and I could just cut that. Or the other option, and this is what I love, is you can get a rotary trimmer. So obviously, if you're a quilter or you're familiar with quilting, these are popular for using to quickly cutting fabric. We can use it for paper. Now, if you're a quilter, probably want to have a separate one that you're cutting paper with. So I got both of these off of Amazon. They're easy to find at your local craft store as well. So I will tell you, this takes some practice. So do not try this on your very pretty paper. Try it a few times with your ruler and your rotary trimmer on other paper first to get the hang of how your rotary trimmer and how you need to hold your ruler on here to get this to work. The other thing I have found, I'm going to have to stand up to do this because I cannot, I have found I can't sit and cut. So I usually have to stand above it I have to hold everything in place and then just come down here right up against that edge and cut. And there we can see it cut that super easy. Now at the bottom, I didn't start it soon enough, so I've got a little spot down here. I'm just gonna grab my scissors and just do a quick snip. I should have started my rotary off my paper. There we go. So just that quick snip. And now we don't have a fold that we have to worry about. And what I can do is just flip my paper over. All right, so that's what my background is gonna look like. Now I need to put this together, right? I need to paper weld it. So I've got some options for paper welding. I could trim a couple of white, actually I'm gonna do it in black because I'm gonna put a piece of black on the front or anything. It doesn't really matter. I just happen to have lots of this paper here. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut myself a couple of 1/2-inch strips. You'll need 2 of them because we are close to 18 inches. The other option you can do is you can come in with some tape chips. I'll show you both options. You can line this up. This is technically my back side because remember the dark brown is going to be my upper triangle. Line your paper up, get it tucked in nice and close to each other, and then you can come in with your tape chips. And you could adhere those down. And you can tape chip it all the way down. You could then peel your tape chips and take your 1/2-inch strips if you wanted to give it a little bit more. The other option is just to come in here and I've got this just down the middle. And we'll just get these reinforced. I'm gonna come in here with a second piece, snip it. And put that on there. Then what I can do is come in and trim off the excess in the corners. So there is my background. I did mention the one thing I want to do is I'm going to come in here with a thin strip. So I'm going to come back to that black paper and I'm going to go ahead and cut off. I cut off a 1/2-inch strip before. I think that's too thick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in closer to just right around 1/8 of an inch, maybe a little bit past that 1/8 inch. I'll need 2 of them. Actually, I'm going to do 2. You might be able to get away with 1 if you want to separate pieces out. So if you're using a sticker along here, you actually would want to wait until you have your photos, because as you start placing your photos on your background, you're going to see how we cover up a big section here. You'd be able to put a small chunk here, have another chunk here. We'll have some photos at the bottom. That diagonal strip is actually only shown in a few places. So you could use a sticker and come along there if you want. I've got my thin little piece here. I'm going to go ahead and cut 1 more. I don't need to worry about sectioning mine out because I'm just using cardstock. And I'm going to use, I think I'll just use repositionable adhesive. It's going to overhang a little bit. I'll snip that off. Just going over that seam right up the middle. And I'll snip off. I'm just going to snip that off for now. I'll come back and clean up those edges better. But there, you can see, kind of see. I've got that dark in there. So it's got that nice clean line, but it's not drawing a lot of attention to itself. That's really what I wanted. It's nothing that's going to come out and shock anybody and say, oh, here I am. I'm going to set this aside for a moment as we're going to go ahead and I'm going to punch. We're going to do step number 2, which is going to be punching and creating our palm tree border. So the first thing I need to do is go ahead and I need to punch. The yellow is going to be my background, the base one. So where they're using yellow, I am also going to use yellow. So I'm going to punch palm trees and then trim it to 2.5 inches. I've got a stuck palm tree. There we go. Get one more in here, and then I'll be able to trim that. All right. So now I'm going to trim this, it says, to 2.5 inches. And that's 2.5 inches from the top of my palm trees. So there's my top of my palm tree. Line that up at 2.5 inches. Next, I need to go ahead and I'm going to punch palm trees with the other color paper, so my green, and I'm going to cut this one at 1.5 inches. Instead of sliding along, I'm going to pull out and move over. We'll see if that helps from getting those palm trees. I know, guys, I felt really bad wanting to use the palm tree punch because I know that many of you may not have it. It really is a fun punch. Wildflowers can kind of give you a similar vibe. It's not quite as palm tree-esque, but it's palm tree-esque without being deliberately palm tree. It can give you a tropical vibe. So clean that off. And I need to trim this at 1.5 inches. So 1.5, I'm going to come over here to this 1.5 inch mark on the right side of my trimmer with the top of my palm trees. And cut at 1.5. Now, I kind of made the little bit of mistake of not offsetting. I started my punch in the same spot. I didn't really think about it, should have thought ahead. Now, the thing is when I layer them, they're really going to layer on top of each other. If I wanted them to layer so that they're not quite on top of each other, I would need to offset a little bit. And that's easy enough to do. What I can do is just layer them on as such, snip off this end piece here and move it to this side. So it's totally doable. I'm not going to worry too much about it. I want to see, though, how this is starting to take shape at the top. The reason I'm doing the palm trees is because I really wanted to use the palm trees with my little dinosaur punch, right? How fun is that dinosaur punch? So I think my overlap is going to be about like such. I'm going to come in and I'm going to cut right along this edge. And I'll scoot this over to this side. There we go. Now, they use some border stickers and other such detail here. I'm going to go ahead and make that wavy cut with my tropical, the tropical side there. So I need to go ahead and grab my decorative trimmer, and I'm going to use the wave edge here. And I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to bring this out. I don't want it to be super tall. I'm going to bring it out so I can see the two right here where my wave line is. I'm going to bring it out, my edge of my paper out, so that it is basically 1/4 of an inch away from the one. So 2 tick marks away from the one. That'll give me a 3/4 inch at its peak sort of wave. I think that's going to be fine. Measuring with the decorative trimmer is always, I feel like you just kind of rattle off some numbers, and even you're referring to these numbers, but that may not always be the actual measurement. A little bit of that there. And then I don't know which border I'm going to use, but I've got all these border strips that work with the What a Zoo 2 collection. So I am not going to commit to my border strip yet. Let's just kind of leave things as they're going here. And we will come back to that in a few moments and see what we think. But I've got that part laid out. Now it's time to start thinking about my photos. But the photos are easy because there's no mats. There's no mats involved. There could be mats if I wanted them to be involved, but they don't have any on this layout or on their sample. So I've got 2 photos here. Also, by putting my photos on here, I might start to be inspired by a certain color I want to bring up into my border up here at the top. I've got, my son was wearing a red shirt. I love the added red to bring in here, but it may not be the right color. I've got these 2 dinosaur pictures here. So that's kind of what it's going to look like, I think the photo placement. These photos got trimmed down. They recommend 4.5 inches wide. I went 4 3/4 because I was going to start, if I chopped down to 4.5, I was going to start losing a little bit of this picture. This photo, I could have come down to 4.5, but I wanted them to go ahead and be the same. I've got the 2 photos here are 4x4s. So I have a little bit of an option here. If I wanted to, I could use peekaboo pockets on these, and I could add more 4x4 photos if I had more. And honestly, even though they're tilted on each other, I think that's okay because I could still put my peekaboo pockets on there. And as long as I don't overlap completely at the top, right? They can't completely, well, yeah, they can't completely overlap. I have to have them angled into each other with some space here. And then one could flip up, and then you could flip the other up. They would overlap, but not interfere with each other. So that is an option. I've got, seriously guys, I've got a stack of photos from what was ultimately like a 30-minute sideshow event. But we had a lot of fun, and we had a beautiful, you can tell the sky was just beautiful. Southern California was the place we needed to be at Christmas. We were so desperate for some beautiful weather. So we had, there's my photos. I have a little, I need to do something over here. Oh, and I need to punch my little dinosaurs. Now, here's the thing. I use green up here. I'm not sure if I need to use green dinosaurs. I think he's going to blend in. I have other colors of green that I could go try to get. I guess I could just have them be along the bottom. I do have some lighter tan. This is where you just start digging through your cardstock scraps and find this tan color might really work. I mean, we're always guessing what color the dinosaurs are. We really don't know. We make the assumption that they weren't bright purple. But you can see I can start working on ways to get the dinosaur, the little T-Rex dinosaur guy in here. And I probably will figure out a place to do a title. They have a detail in here. So I might come in with something as well that gives me the space to add the title to lead us off, to start us off on the whole exhibit. And there are some mats to go with this. So I could easily come in. I think this might be what I do is I'll come in and just do, I think I'll bring that yellow down with this mat. I'm going to trim the mat up just a little bit. It has a little bit of space for journaling. I don't need to say a whole lot, just that we really enjoy the exhibit. There's going to be tons of pictures. It was your typical little tourist trap. And then I'm thinking I have these little arrow ones, and I might go ahead and use that along here. And then if I wanted to, I can come in and start using the trail punch all throughout. And I can somehow either write in, you know, this way to the T-Rex or that way to the whatever else, right? That would be a fun added detail in there as well. So all in all, I think that's pretty much how this is going to be. And then I do think I will probably see about getting another pack of this What a Zoo paper and then bringing this over, because I've got a ton of photos. I'll probably have at least two-page layouts that I'll try to use peekaboo pockets to make it a little bit condensed so that we're not having to just constantly flip all these pages of dinosaurs, right? It feels a little bit more interactive when you're doing it. So it's not just like, oh, look at this page, flip. Oh, here's another page of dinosaurs. I think when you can actually have those peekaboos in there and moving things around, it feels a little bit more like, ooh, what's under this one? And then you can see those additional details. So I will finish getting this all put together, add those details. I probably won't come in too much with too crazy of stuff. I do have from the What a Zoo 2 collection, the layered embellishments. If I wanted to, I'm going to err on the side of caution. I've got a lot going on in the photos. I don't necessarily want to pull too much away from really being able to look and enjoy all the details of the photos themselves. So those really adding just a couple of the little dinosaurs. The little guy can come down here if he wants, but just keeping it a very simple theme is going to work fine. I do have those stickers. The What a Zoo came with, they released the stickers, alpha stickers. There's no numbers in this, it's just alphabet. So I might use these and create a banner up here at the top that just says the Cabazon dinosaur exhibit, which is a lot of letters. So we will see to do this. So I do see a quick question from Kathy, who's asking how much time did it take to plan the page? Well, that was the great thing of this particular page. It didn't take me a whole lot of time. Remember, I am using ideas from the Creative Memories blog, so that's a great resource to go through. Just start scrolling, start bookmarking ones that interest you. Some of the ones that are on the blog are also in the sketch booklet. If you happen to get that from a couple of years ago, you can also have that resource. But this one for me actually came together really well because I knew exactly what I wanted to use it for. Sometimes when I pick a blog post that we're going to make, I don't always know. I want to try the technique or I want to put it together, but I'm not sure which pages or photos and papers I'm going to use. I do try when I'm doing these scrapbook lives, it's a chance for me to work on projects, my photos. So if I have those photos and I kind of just know what I'm doing, it comes together pretty quickly. Other times it does take me a little bit longer, so don't let the fact that I can come in here with all my papers ready to go. There have been times that I'm preparing for Scrapbook Live that I'll spend 30 minutes looking at my photos and my papers, trying to figure out exactly how this is all going to come together. So it's always going to be a little bit different, and you can figure out what works for you. Sometimes I will tell you, I thought about, like, especially for this particular vacation, is to come in and do like the power sort or the power layout, where basically I'm going to go through, I'm going to pick out my photos, determine what's going to go on a layout together, right? The 2 pages of the layout. Lay out my photos, and then it's easy for me to come and slap some papers in with it. And then I can take a look at the blog if I want to, and what am I inspired? Is there a technique? Is there a design that I really like that I think that's going to go great with these photos, or maybe the sketches from the virtual crop? So there's lots of ways to plan out your pages like that. The blog can be a really great resource to do that. Especially, I always like to say, if you're going to like a weekend retreat and you're just getting started in the morning, right? You've been up late the night before. I always feel a little bit less creative in the morning. So I like the sketches, the blog, those places are great to get inspiration just to get you going. So you still feel like you're making progress. And then as you get rolled into it, now you've got some creative juices flowing and you're ready to keep going through the day. Usually by the end of the day is when I'm feeling a little bit more creative, I guess, or inspired, because I've been working all day long on things. So that can be helpful there. So this one did come together pretty quickly. There wasn't a whole lot of additional detail. We didn't have mats to cut. The technique itself to make the background is pretty straightforward. You just cut on that diagonal. If you don't have the 18-inch ruler, consider getting one. Mother's Day is coming up. I mean, like, hey, I want a ruler for Mother's Day. So those are always kind of just fun gifts, and your kids are like, yeah, sure, here's a ruler, Mom, have fun. So just, yeah, give the technique a try. It's a little bit different. You will be able to give it a shot there. So I am seeing a question about the handout. So hopefully you clicked on the handout itself, or underneath the handout from the blog, there is a spot where it says download. You will need to download a PDF and then print from that. So you don't want to print the blog page. You want to make sure you see the handout that scroll down. If you're looking at it on your device, on a mobile device, a lot of times it won't show you the preview of the PDF. It'll actually just show you the link. So you just need to download the PDF and then print from there. Every device is a little bit different, so it's hard to give me explicit walkthrough directions, but hopefully that will help. So next week is the last Wednesday of April, shockingly enough, right? So we are going to be putting together borders next week. I have the borders picked out. I know which ones we're going to do. I'm really excited. I will get that event posted to Facebook so you guys can see which ones we're going to be doing. And then after that, we're going to be into May. It's kind of crazy that we're already this far into it. You guys, in terms of Creative Memories news, you guys all know that there's a promotion going on right now for spend some money. You're going to get some free products depending on the various levels of whether you're in Canada, the US, or in Australia. You can go to your respective Creative Memories website for your country. So definitely support a Creative Memories advisor when you're shopping online with Creative Memories. I cannot stress that enough. Make sure you see somebody's smiling face when you check out. If you want it to be mine, that's wonderful. You can always do that. I'm always happy to receive your orders. Thank you so much. And the next time I think we'll see new products from Creative Memories is going to be coming the beginning of May. So we will have those details a little while from now. Right now, we're all excited about the Unbelievable and the Ladybug Punch. So If you guys ever have questions, send me a message. I'm happy to help as much as possible or help you find the resource to answer your question. And I think that's it. This was a quick one that came together. I've got a couple final details to put together. And of course, I will share my final page later on Facebook, or if you're watching this later on YouTube, it'll pop up at the end of the video. So thanks so much for watching. I will see you guys next week, and enjoy your weekend. Hopefully the sun is shining and you get amazing weather. All right.